So, hello, I'm Mkors. You might know me as the creator of Blockbuster mod. And here I am going to show you how to basically use the Snowstorm particle editor. Um, Snowstorm particle editor is designed for Bedrock edition of Minecraft because they have for the marketplace and add-ons they have the mechanism to create custom particle effects, which people really nicely utilize. I've seen cool stuff. But Blockbuster mod has a an implementation of this particle system. It's not fully supports all features. There is basically with the class I made a supplemental document which has a ton of information. It's like 10 pages. And in the end, there are limitations and describes which stuff doesn't work or it partial works. For example, whenever I was basically preparing for the tutorial for the class, I noticed a couple of things that didn't exactly look the same. For example, emitter loop in lifetime, sleep time wasn't exactly the same, and other stuff were like that. So keep in mind that it's not a full implementation, so sometimes you have to work around specific things. So yeah, but it's a very powerful system. You can do a lot of stuff with it. It's very heavily underutilized by majority of people because it's a pretty complex feature, but I hope that with this class, which I'm also going to publish it on my second channel, a lot of people will be able to utilize it much more freely and with more advanced knowledge. Before we begin with the class itself, there's a couple of things I have to say. For example, for advanced usage of the particle editor, you have to have some core understanding of Algebra 2. It doesn't mean that you have to know all the stuff like series or statistics basics, or it's just understanding how to take numbers, the formulas and the functions, and how to combine them together to make different kind of motions and change of color and stuff like that. Magic. Math, JK, yes. It's not really math, it's like more applicable math. So, for example, with the graphing calculator, all you have to kind of know is how to take, for example, how do you graph numbers? So how do math is easier when applied to some? Yeah, exactly. It's not that difficult if you practice a little bit. For some people it could be like, oh, I got it on the second time, but for some it could be like, damn, it's seventh time and I still don't really get it. This happened to me as well in school, so you just have to be patient and try again and tweak around with the numbers and maybe like try it out. Okay. And unfortunately, like there is not much I can do. I wrote here like a couple of pages about math concepts, like what are variables, what are functions, how to visualize functions, what functions are useful in the context of Khan Academy YouTube can watch. Yeah, Khan Academy, it's oh, that's probably a good link that I should add here. I'm just gonna write them. So yeah, Khan Academy is a really good one. Resource for learning math. So yeah, but there's some basics kind of explains how to do it, even like with some instruction, one like step by step, how you graph a simple function, and then you can try graph a different function. So yeah, you have to have understanding of core math. It's like very important to kind of visualize these functions together and then use them on a, for example, the rainbow here, the example. It uses a couple of functions in the emitter. It uses cosine and a couple of variables. I'll explain a bit later, but first I want just to kind of like explain that it's what you have to have. Okay, then the second point is, I think I need to reiterate is that it's not as hard as like rocket science or quantum mechanics. You just have to kind of like tweak around with it, try different things, and see how it turns out. And then you would be able to expand upon the experience and get it working. Okay, so and the document here, I have it in a here I pinned it. Maybe I should just share it again. Copy link. It's also gonna be in the video, so it's fine, I think. But if you want to kind of like follow along with it, I'm also gonna use it as an outline a little bit. So yeah, this is all the disclaimer I wanted to provide. So now let's start like messing around with it. All right, so let's first start with trying to take a particle effect from Snowstorm. This is example rainbow, again to show how I got it. Let's take this particle effect and let's get it into Blockbuster mode first. This is done by, first I need to download it. Then I go to Minecraft, I press dartboard, the key to open the dartboard of Blockbuster mode. It is 0 key by default, and I need mouse buttons and keystrokes. So it's 0 by default whenever you press in the world. Then in the particle editor, you can click on this open folder with particle effect button, and it would open you where particles effect have to go. So now it was in downloads. I take that rainbow effect, I just copy it, and that's basically it. You have to open and close, and the rainbow effect is here. That's pretty much how you load it, but then to place it, you have to grab model block, which can be found in Blockbuster item tab, and you right click it, you pick, then you find Snowstorm. Wow, it lags for some reason. Okay, it's because of emoticons. You you find the Snowstorm morph, then you press Q, and you find the particle you want in the list, rainbow. You exit, and there it is. Probably it's better to remove the shadow. That's how you load a particle effect that uses the default Minecraft vanilla textures. However, it's a bit different for textures. Rainbow, yeah, it's very nice. And it's a bit different for when you have a custom texture. For example, let's say you have a custom particle effect, and there is, with a quick setup, I'm gonna make like a particle effect like this. It looks pretty nice, but if I download it, then I open the folder, then I move it to particles, and if I try to see how it looks like in a particle editor, it was called loading, it would look like this. So what has to be done is basically you have to get the texture. At the moment you can download the texture from over here. If you have a texture and another place that you chose file to and then import it here, you have to well, move that texture. So I move here. For example, I'm gonna use loading for it. Loading. And in the particle editor, you just click pick texture, b.a, particles, and loading. And this fixes the texture. And now from the come on, what is this? Confetti, that's supposed to be loading. Yes, it didn't update. Hello. Okay, here it is. And now this particle effect is loaded over here. So this is how you load the particle effect, through copying the file from the Snowstorm, downloading it, moving to particles folder, and then if you have a custom texture, you just pick it in the particle editor. Okay, this is how you upload. But let's now start work like overviewing the Snowstorm editor itself. Before I do that, I want to show some of the particle effects that I made, and I will try to replicate, hopefully without any issues on the first try. But as you may know, nothing happened on the first try, but let's try it out. So the first one is Confetti. It's basically, the party stuff. Just a basic particle effect. We have here a texture that has like a little bit of rotation. It stays on the ground. It has different colors. Basically, the texture itself is white. But using special tinting option allows me to color them, and they fall from the sky in a kind of like in a square, I guess. They're, yes, pretty. Thank you. Then the suites is another. Just basically you have a custom texture, and there's a lot of sweet stuff comes out of it. It's we have candies, a crayon, a lollipop, and soda. Party. Then another one of the particle, multiple textures in one particle. It's not exact, it's one texture, it's just the texture is subdivided. Yes, so then we have like a little particle effect that basically makes some fire, but it has a little bit of pause. So it's kind of like a lava volcano or a geyser that erupts sometimes. I disable all of these, so in case... Wait, actually I think there was one more I forgot. Tornado. Okay, I disabled this so it wouldn't lag my PC. And tornado is like these kind of like windy thing. It has like yeah, I remember this one. Yes, it's that one, but it has with a couple of changes magic. So this is tornado. It has some more or less complicated formulas, but overall, if you break it down, it can be simplified. Finally, we have here two another ones. This one is just demonstrated as like fireflies. If I change the time, set night, they also glow in the dark. And with shaders, they would actually, I think, glow. But I didn't test, first of all, and I don't want to test right now because it would tank my frames per second. Frame rate, there we go. And the last one is basically like if you have a character who is kind of like madly in love, you can like make an effect like this. It's basically attached to the model itself, so if you like rotate and stuff, it should follow it. Let's see. Yeah, it follows. All right, these are the making all of this should cover like 90 or 80% of what I have to kind of like introduce to you in order for you to be able to do all this cool stuff. And from there, you can kind of like extrapolate your own particle effects, I guess. I love this particle. Thank you. These are not the best ones. Oh, beside that, I also want to show basically I've seen on Twitter, it's not here. Basically, Viiceroy made a really nice particle effect. Not a particle, it's like a clip. So I'll also try to break down how to make so these kind of like what components were used and like that you can combine lots of different particle effects together to create something very powerful. Okay, so that was Viiceroy's particles. Very crazy. Can we get an upload here? That looks dope, yes. If we look closer, it's not just the particle effects. Let me... Okay, if you can see beside particle effects, whenever there's a light comes out, you can see there are shadows. This was my guess was better lights morph, I think, but I could be wrong. But I think that's what it was. Maybe it was I don't know, but just you see if you combine different features of Blockbuster mode, you can get cool stuff. And funny thing, all of these particle effects is the same texture. They just differ in the color tinting and in the way they move around. But it's the same exactly texture. Like if you can see here, or here, this is the explosion particle effect, you know, or when an entity dies. Then if you see, these are also small of these particle effects when an entity dies. It is still the same one. Still the same one, it's purple and orange. Then still orange and purple, but the same texture. Yes, as the glow comes from shader's bloom feature. But in any case, as you can see, just the way you can take different kind of like motions of the same particle, you can create same stuff. All right, so this was that. Okay, now that I've shown what we would be able to do, I hope that we can start with new particle effects. Okay, I'll just restart it just in case. Okay, so Snowstorm Editor has here a couple of tabs. There's a little bit of menu items and preview and code. You probably don't need the code at all. It just shows you what the JSON looks like. It's more for, I guess, debugging purposes. Then help has a lot of useful stuff like the tutorial I made a long time ago. Oh, here, this one. Then Molang sheet is very useful. It has the available variables and functions that you can use. I would go over them later, but just in case you forget. Wait, okay. Is that shaders? Yes, it must be complementary. If we're talking about, sorry, I'm a bit behind on the comments in the chat. But yes, I think it's a complementary shader. It's one of those that are reimagined, or it could be the unbound one, or it could be maybe the rethinking voxels or something like that. I don't know, but it's one of the complementary edits, I think. Then you have the grapher. This is useful to test out how do these expressions look like on the graph, kind of like with Desmos. Desmos is more like Mafi, but Molang is exactly specifically for Bedrock stuff and Snowstorm. And then Discord server and examples. You can try out different stuff and see how some of the cool particles that are provided work. Like, for example, Rainbow uses point and uses cosine and sine to animate the rainbow itself. It uses here the emit range, particle random, and gradient for the color itself, where it is appearance over here. Then let's see. Then there's like rain. And basically all of it. Okay, so I'll start overviewing actually the particle effects, the tabs here. So in the file, you have here a couple of space-related effects. So I'll start with actually demonstrating these in action. So here I have a trail effect. I usually start with trail because it's the least modified, and I could mount, and I could use this as a template because the new one doesn't have the default texture. So once I have the trail and I set up some default movement, for example, ring, in the file, the identifier, it doesn't do anything in Blockbuster mode. You can use it for the display name. For example, here, if I have this, it's used, you see Mahor's heart. That's the one that I called in the instead of identifier. So you can give it like a meaningful name if you want to. Then local position and local rotation allows you to kind of like define how a particle works in the space. For example, let's say we have that one particle. Let's download it. So example, I'm gonna call it example 1. I'm gonna download it. Then I'm gonna place it into the Western particle folder. Example 1. And by default, I didn't change any rotation position elements. Now I'm gonna show you how this actually gonna affect the particle effect. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attach to Steve said the particle effect, remove all morphs. It was called example 1. This is a bit unfortunate color I chose. Let's see if I can change. Basically, in Blockbuster, you can also change the stuff, but it's not a full implemented editor. It was example 1. In somewhere towards the bottom, there is lightning, and I'm gonna make it red so it would be visible in the background. It's visible. It's okay. So if I move around, let's say, they kind of follow, but it's not, for example, it doesn't follow the rotation. It's not gonna move, like rotate and like, well, like it's just gonna follow what it is. Like it's the plane of it, it's not gonna change. But if, for example, I'm gonna change here in the local position, it will start moving along its let's call it local axis, but what it is, okay, it's here. It's gonna move along the local axis, but it's still gonna be moving like all around with the world. As you see, it spawns in the world. If I change, it's still gonna continue like moving around over here in the direction. Yes, it moves around. But if you also add the local rotation, it would always stick around. So as you see, it's literally like attached to the actor. It doesn't trail. It's literally in the same space as the actor. So these are the local rotation position, and with the heart effect, where is it enabled? If I remember correctly, it's it's not local, but it's not local rotation position, but it is. No, it wasn't at all, but I thought it was. But there's now it's, you see, it's bound to its local axis, local velocity. Local velocity, to be honest, I'm not sure whether it's implemented for sure, but I think what it does, local direction. There's no velocity. I think these are the options that are added by Cryfy, but local velocity by itself wasn't added. I think what was supposed to be in what's called in Snowstorm, it was supposed to be whenever the entity that is attached to, basically it's local acceleration, kind of, yes, but it's has to do with the bedrock stuff that which I don't know about. But yes, you have to just consider local position and local rotation. These are useful, like to attach. We may have more attachment of the particle effect to the body part. For example, yeah, for example, you can make like a little. Okay, let's try making basically like a magic powered gauntlet or something like that. Let's say I'm gonna use the loading. Imagine that this is gonna be kind of like a magical thing around the character's arm. So this should be the radius. Is fine, I think. Maybe a little bit less. This particular. Okay, I'm just basically just gonna show you with the local. You see, local position and rotation are enabled. I'm just gonna download it and replace it. I think was replace it, and I'm gonna edit it. It's the body part. It was loading. Then I attach it to. I hold control, and as you can see now it's attached to here. I'm gonna move it 90. I'm gonna move it down. I don't know whether the scale would work. Scale doesn't work. So instead I'm gonna go here, and in the loading I'm gonna change the see here the size. No, the radius, maybe 2. And now Steve has this kind of like magical thing, which whenever you move the arm with the pose, it's also gonna follow. It didn't in the preview. The particles have problems due to the immersive mode, I think. But yeah, as you can see, it's like literally attached to his arm. Let me quickly disable this one. So yeah, this is the local rotation position. Then, before I continue on, I just want to show like which features we're not going to cover. The events is not implemented in Blockbuster mode, therefore we're not gonna cover it at all. In time, all of these are kind of like they're not very useful per se. So I think it's due to their not as much is useful in Blockbuster, they're not gonna be, but this one's supposed to work. And think this also don't work. But anyways, now let me go more in overview what the rest of the tabs do. Quick stop allows you to quickly like set up how this effect can be without like actually going into more details how to set them up. Timing, and you can like change the speed, for example. Steady and burst allow you to control with how the particles spawn. For example, burst, it's when they're all at once. You can like spawn a little bit at once or a lot. And like you can also whoa, that's pretty cool. It starts to lag. You can control how long it lives and how many of them gonna be spawned. And then physics, you can kind of like control the behavior of the movement of motion, none. They just go without any kind of like inertia. They just go. the different directions. Solid, they go down and also collide with the floor. Small goes a little bit up. Balls, I guess it's the same as solid, but with more bounciness. And paper, it goes down, but without any kind of like bounciness. Oh, that's annoying. And sprite, all sprites listed, copyright. Okay, you can also like use these, I guess, for quick stuff, but I think it's not as useful. I need to either kicking hostile. Okay, I'm just gonna disable the sound. Let's go, no copyright. Yeah, no copyright. Let's go. But yes, you can basically use this section to just like click around to set up basic shape and then kind of like min-max the other parameters. So now let's try making some of the things that I made here. So this guy, it has a couple of, it has a timer that it a little bit sleeps there, like it emits the particles and then goes, doesn't emit anything for a couple of seconds and then goes back. It has also a couple of textures here. There's this one and also this fiery, kind of like a flame and a fireball. And they also go up and go down. So these ones, I don't think you need any kind of math to use it. So that's why it's the simplest to use. So back in the in Snowstorm, first in the emitter is the one that is responsible for how many particles, like the way it is, and then for how long it lives. The emitter itself. Basically, there are particles that spawn, and there is also emitter, the object that's responsible for spawning particles. And so for this specific one, if you can see, there is like a little bit of a maybe of a circle here around that spawns these particles. So this can be done by changing point to disk and changing the radius. So for example, I think this was 0.25. And I think I also enabled surface, which basically makes it so let's have more particles. It makes it spawn the particles exactly on the edge of the shape. Instead of like, you see, if I disable, it's gonna spawn anywhere. Let me screenshot that. So whenever the surface only is enabled, all particles gonna be just spawned on the edge. But whenever surface only is disabled, everywhere over here will be spawned. Whether it's a disk, it's just like kind of like a circle on the 2D surface. Then there is a sphere. It's basically kind of like, well, it's a round thing, so kind of like a 3D volume like this. I don't think I can even kind of like show it. It's a circle in 3D. If I put it on surface only, you can see kind of like if I remove any motion here, which I have to reset basically for now, and drag, as you can see, it's on the surface exactly, so it makes a sphere. And the disk is gonna look like this. The box is like a Minecraft block. You can change the size of it. And if you disable surface only, it's gonna be inside of a box, which looks like a volume like this. So within the 6 sides of a kind of like 3D rectangle. So this one was in a disk, and it's a very small disk. These particles have to go here. They have to go up and then fall down. So the way this works is through dynamic option. Back in Snowstorm, there is a tab where all of the individual particle motion is set up. So the way the particles go up and they go down, but first they start up. You have, in order to specify in which direction the particles go, you have to use the custom. Custom is basically allows you to define in which direction it goes. So if I change the speed and 1, this is the way it works. So basically there are 3 axes, and 1 is going to be on the 3rd field. This is basically how it works. So we have here a particle effect. And we need to specify in which direction it goes. So we need to specify some kind of like an arrow that points in a specific direction. If you want to go upward, you need to go along this line, and this is the y-axis. It goes up, and the y-axis is specified in the 3rd parameter here. If you want the particle to go, for example, this direction, you need to specify it on the x-axis. This is the horizontal axis. I probably should have put it like this more. This is forward axis, and this is horizontal. This is like depth axis. This is vertical. So in order to go along the horizontal axis, you have to specify on the horizontal, and so the particles would go here along this axis. I don't know if that makes sense. And if you want it to go, for example, along this axis, you just specify 1 on the z-axis. And if you want to go it in a specific way, for example, let's say I don't want it just to go along one of these axes. I want, for example, it to go along that axis, so it would be like diagonally between these two. What you can do is specify, for example, along this axis is 1, and along the x-axis is 1. So it would go directly onto this side. I don't know if that makes sense. So the way it represents is basically you have this 3 number that represents like a vector. So you have 3 numbers on each axis. So 1 here on this axis, 1 on the green axis, and this makes it, when they're combined together, into something like this. That makes the arrow go in this direction. And since on this axis we don't go anywhere, we just press half 0. Have to leave my house now, but definitely watch the rest of this later. Thank you for the advice. You're welcome. So I think I didn't prepare for this concept, but I hope this kind of makes sense. So just experiment with the numbers until you get the direction you want. But in the case of my particle, it goes this way. Okay. So we have it up, but we also need the particles to go down. And it seems like also the particles are moving not just up, but also a little bit to the side. I wonder how it's done. Okay, so the way after the particle effect was defined the direction and also the speed. So for example, we can also change how fast they go based on, like, that's the initial speed. We can also specify the acceleration. Acceleration is basically a speed that gets added every tick after it was initially spawned. Speed is the original, basically, acceleration, and then acceleration it adds over and over. So in order to go like first up and then down, I just specify -1, and as you can see, particles started to go down. So as time goes on, it becomes more and more heavier. So the downward speed multiplies and becomes more and more bigger, and then it just goes down. That makes sense. So if I specify a bigger even speed, then it's not enough. It doesn't look exactly the same way as in the in my particle effect. But this looks something more like the one I have. Let's try downloading this one and using it in Blockbuster mode. Let's see how it looks like. So again, I uploaded it. Since there is no custom texture, I don't need to do anything crazy. So it works kind of the same way, but it looks much smaller than the size and the scale could be deceiving in Snowstorm. So you have to, whenever you finish making your particle effect, you have to check it in the game and then adjust as you need. Probably it's better to adjust the way it kind of like appears here better than in Snowstorm, because it would just make the feedback loop much more longer and would waste your time. But I kind of like I can imagine, so I need to make it so this is like, see, comparing it, I think it's about the same size, so I might probably make it a bit heavier and then compensate for it's too much compensation. Yes, and I think this is much nicer. And with motion bit almost done, it looks too flat. This particle effect has a little bit goes to the sides. So in order to achieve that effect, we'll start using a little bit of math equations. So don't panic, it's not too complicated. Oh, it's the wrong one. So basically just what has to be done is math, random, -1 and 1. And now particles on the x-axis start to go crazy, in different directions. So what random does, if I go to Grapher, it creates noise. For every time there is a different value, but it's always within these two numbers. If I go and change 2, it would go between 2 and 1. If I change this one to, let's say, 0.5, it would stay within the range of from -2, it's over here, till 0.5 here. Math. Yes, magic, it's math. Very complicated. But yes, so you just type in which, between what two numbers you want the random to be, and it would work out basically. So I put in both of these fields random, and it seems to be, it's a better result. It's more interesting, but it's not the same way as I wanted with the with this particle effect. So with this particle effect, I need to make it so it would the spread of the flying out particles is more narrower. So what I can do, I could either multiply, I could either reduce this number, for example, by like this, make it smaller, or I can make this one is bigger. I made it bigger, and now this looks very similar to this. Let's see, I'll download it and replace it. Let's see how it, so I just click it, and now it looks very similar in terms of the motion. Now motion is done, and let's do the texture part. So the texturing, all of the texturing is done in texture and UV. Of course, making math look cool. Thank you. I'm not sure whether it's becomes easier or not, but the more we dive into the tutorial, it's going to be more difficult. I hope with the extra explanation I could make it look easier. So the texture, I used these two guys in order to basically use two of these particles. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just move this thing until I get the effect. I got the effect, and I see it doesn't look exactly the same color, so the problem is here is in appearance. So what I do, I just move it so it be white, and now it looks exactly like. I think there's also appearance, rotate UX. Now they fall, they appear like they're upside down. Am I crazy? In any case, this is not the end. I also need to make sure that I have two of these because I want this one and this two. All you have to do here is, it's again, I'm not, first I'm gonna just show and then in the end I would explain. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say variable particle random 1 less than 0.5, and then if it's less, then I put 0, then if it's more, it's 8. So this way, if you can see clearly, if you can see, there are both. Okay, for a better demonstration, let's do a different one. So the way it works is that if, so every particle has a random variable, and once, and it has like, for every one of them, it's different. So this way I can statistically make an assumption that if it's the values that don't have, then I want the red one. But if it's not, this is basically means, this is basically the condition. Okay, so I check, oh, so is it less than half? If it's less, okay, then I want this one. Otherwise, I want this one. And 16 here is this number. It goes, if I don't know this, I can download this, but let me see if I can download the particle itself. Blockbuster, and I'm gonna open it in GIMP really quickly. Particle.png, download. Okay, so if you go and see here, pay attention to this. Oh, maybe even here better. Whenever I move around with the cursor, you see I drew these green pixels. This is, if you can see here, it's 0 and 24. But, oh, it appears that there is no blue in mine, so Blockbuster wouldn't have, so I cannot use the blue one. Sorry, guys. But I can use probably this one. So this way I could, yeah, look like they're turning once they, yeah, I don't know why it happens. That's interesting. I think it's because due to rotate UX, but it's not gonna happen in a Blockbuster mode. You'll have to import the 1.in. Yeah, what I'm gonna do, no, instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add, so here, I'm gonna make them both 0, but instead I'm gonna change the Y. So if it's less than half, it's gonna be 24, which is this number. But if it's, let's see, if I want the, like, that water drop, it's gonna be 48. If you can check over here, it's 48 over here. Couldn't you download the texture from Snowstorm? No, it didn't allow me. Oops, I didn't need to copy it. So instead it will be 48. So now, if we the export again toward for Blockbuster mode, particles over here. Yeah, indeed, Mr. Stark. Now these particles look exactly. Oh, look, they even wait. They flip here as well. But why? Okay, I don't understand again, but it works in both. So I guess it is. I don't know, man. But okay, now um, the motions look the same. Uh, the texture we did a little bit of improvisation, but the size doesn't match. This is much smaller. So how this is done is basically I can just change here size in appearance, and now oh, it's probably was done due to due to the way this expression worked somehow. Oh, I guess it's because of the max age. It was I don't know stuff. So basically, I'm just gonna remove and the variables I'm gonna make them big. But there is also if I just gonna leave it like this, they spawn big and they stuff yes. They spawn big and they also when they die they're also big. So for the basically to animate the size, you can use curves. I'm not gonna like I'm just gonna show how I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna change it to size. I got you. Yeah, but I already did it. Maybe for the next particle or something. No, that's a different particle effect. It differs from Snowstorm. I guess both of them. So what I need to do is to change here v to variable, or else it's not gonna work in Blockbuster mode because it doesn't support the shorthands. It's also reviewed in the document. But then in the in the side appearance, basically the way curves work is that you give it a name, then you kind of like make the curve. For example, I can give it a curve like this. So that means that at first it's gonna be 0, then at it's like 20% of the 25% of the health, it's gonna start to grow, then it's gonna small, and then it's gonna end. So then all I need to do is basically to multiply the variable by size. Come on, others. And since at the beginning they are 0, look here. If I change, I could basically control the way scaling basically the way these variables work by just moving these numbers. And just because I can multiply over here by the variable, I can control basically the way it works is it uses the age of the particle. So basically, let me show. So screenshot. So let's pretend that we have like a little graph. It's too big. This is how particle age looks like. It goes up, and once like the number when it goes up here, so let's say it goes toward in this direction. So first, like at the beginning, it's at 0 here in the beginning, and the value of this variable is also 0. Then once the lifetime of the particle reaches 25%, which is basically achieved by taking the lifetime of the particle, how much it like for how much it lives, and how much its particle lifetime. So we get basically a number that is basically goes from 0 to 1, and it uses the position here on the line to which can be used in this size. So essentially, I can control the number here, how it goes, animates throughout the entire particle lifetime. So this way I can change the scale of the particle throughout its entire lifetime, and they make it go from small to big like this. So it smoothly goes from small to big and then fades away. So this looks more or less smoother, but even a more smoother effect can be achieved by changing the mode to cut-mul-rom. As you can see now, the particle effect looks much more smoother, but for some reason it doesn't fade away, fade in. But so in order, the way this interpolation works is that it needs a couple of more points here to kind of like the way you can control kind of this. You can see like the bigger this we can change with these endpoints. Here the slope basically. So these two extra points on the end and the beginning are required for cut-mul-rom. It's worth mentioning Bezier and Bezier chain don't work in Blockbuster mode, so it's only linear and cut-mul-rom. So I download and let's see if it works in Blockbuster mode. In fact, it works. They spawn small, and they expire also small. Just like this particle effect, but this particle effect has more lifetime. It's okay, it's more like this looks like it. In Snowstorm, finally, to fully replicate this particle effect, there is a little bit of pause. Pause is really easily added, is in emitter. You can just you change the mode from expression to looping. Expression is used mostly for bedrock stuff because you can have more control over which particles variables get passed in. Once it's like you can just specify once and active timer. And I don't know whether it's supposed to work like this. I guess maybe because it's in because it's here. But I think the way it's supposed to work is that once you specify how much time, and after like this 1 second, it just stops emitting. So it looks like this particles. And that's it. So start, 1 second passed, and that's it. That's how it's supposed to work, but because it's a snowstorm, it has to constantly show you that it's actually working. So the pause is added just by adding here for some sleep time, for example 4. And the way it works is basically it's gonna work for 1 second, it's gonna wait 4 seconds, and then it's gonna start again, and it's gonna sleep for another 4 seconds, and this is in loops. Unfortunately, in Blockbuster mode, this feature is not incorrect. This feature is incorrectly implemented, so you have to increase the number of sleep time in order to be exactly how much you want. And so we got the first particle effect there replicated. It only took 1 hour of the class, so I don't know whether I would be in an adequate time to show everything, but I'll try. So yeah, this is the first particle effect. Any questions in the chat? You got this thing. Yeah. Any questions? I'll probably edit out this part. Okay, so sleep time doesn't work. It works in Blockbuster mode, but it works weirdly. I think there is some miscalculation is done. For example, if you let's I don't know. So let's say 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. Okay, it's about the same, but if I put them like along each other, let's say Okay, I'm gonna wait for the sleep. No, 1 second. You see, the my particle in Blockbuster mode, it starts a bit earlier than in Snowstorm. So there's some kind of incomplete implementation or error in the logic or something like that. Basically, I think I just messed up whenever I implemented and I didn't just properly tested it, and nobody really noticed that because not a lot of people, I guess, used the sleep timer feature. But just kind of like, it's not much of a deal. You can just take the, for example, trail, and you can just mess around with what is it, emitter lifetime, and just adjust the number until you like how it looks like. Could be a cool idea for pulse like embedding tremor. Yeah, I think you can like maybe make it 1. Wow, it's really poorly implemented. But yes, you can use it for something, yes, like some kind of like repeating animation that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, I guess. Okay, any more questions? Okay, I haven't seen any typing, so I guess we can. Okay, I see magic typing. Can you explain me textures? Okay. Um, let's see. Do you mean explain how I achieved the switch between these two parts, or do you mean something else? Yes. So the way, okay, I'll show you on the example of a Moline grapher. So we have a variable random, right? So pretend we have a query time. So we have lots of in the example I have used let's see, oh, I have another one. I used variable random 1. So this number always between 0 and 1. So it's somewhere like that. So the way it works, so for example, I can say query the time, which is basically kind of like x. If I say like, oh, if it's less than 1, then I want it to be 2. But if it's more than 1, it's going to be -2. So this way, no, it's -1. So this way I can control, basically, it's like a kind of like a switch statement. Like I can dictate the logic. If it's less than 1, so this is exactly 1. Whoa, it tries to auto translate. Let's see what it says. No, I expect, okay. So as you can see, as it approaches, it's 2, but as it approaches 1, so if it's less than 1, it becomes 2. So it is 2, it's less here. But once the variable becomes more than 2, it more than 1, it becomes -2. And in our case, so less than 0.5, 0.5. So the first one was 0, and the other one, no, it was 0. It was 24, and the other one was 48. So depending on the, basically, depending on which value in the random, we get either 24 or 48. So this is how I achieved the range, like the choice between these two particles. So this construction is called ternary operator. In essence, it looks like this. So let's say if, so condition, so if it's true and if it's false, So if condition here is true, we can use beside more. So it's like an if then say yes, exactly. So beside less and greater, we can use also less than equal. So it means that it's less or equal, greater than equal. It's a greater or equal. Then there's also equals exactly 0.5. Since these values are really random, you are rarely gonna get exactly 0.5. What you can do if you want exactly the same as this number, you can add a, for example, query. No, it's just query. No, it was variable or particle random. Minus 0.5, less than 0.1, and then you get a little bit of like the randoms that are actually very close to 0.5. This way you can, but if you just need to control the probability of certain particles to appear different, you can, for example, use point like 80. I want 80% of them to be red, and the rest of them be blue. So I think it's the wrong. It's supposed to be particle random. As you can see now, majority of these particles is gonna be red, while minority 20% statistically. It's not gonna be exactly 20, but it's gonna be about 20% of all of these particles. It's gonna be. So if I probably gonna try and screenshot it, so we can probably, if we can count. So let's see. This is about 7, 5. I would say 10, so it's 7, 5, 10, 22. So there's gonna be another like 10, 30. There's gonna be maybe, so in total it's gonna be around 40 particles that are red, and this is 5, this is 3, 8, and this is how much is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 26. It's not exactly 2280, but it's somewhere in the ballpark of it. But I always can mess around with this number and to make it this number more and more closer to 1, and this way you can control how the probability, basically the population of these to be more different. I don't know how to explain. Yeah, so this is a pretty powerful construction which you can use for dictating kind of like how much you need of these particles to be like statistically, but it's not exactly like 90% of them, as we have seen just like in a couple of seconds ago that it was more closer to 60 and 40. In case it was originally 0.5. So yeah, this is how you do this is with static mode. Okay, now let's move to the next particle. I'm gonna probably remove it, disable this one, and rename the particle effects blue red flame. Okay, and move it to the next one. Okay, so the next one on my list is hearts. Hearts were over here. So this one has about it has more of a animation with curves, and also it uses a different particle emitter shape, and constantly spawn a lot of these hearts. And I think also if you look like this, it uses a different orientation mode. So okay, let's try making that one. So I'll start again from new from trail because it's least modified. What I usually do, I remove these ones. I make it like 1. I change it to white, the size 0.1.1, and the emitter to 0, so it would stay here. So I use sphere with 0.5 radius. The particles actually flow upward, so the motion has to be, first I do custom like I've shown before, I need them to go up, and so this is y vector that goes up, because this is one, it represents green, blue represents this one, and red this one. So this is up. Change speed, for example, to 2. I don't need any acceleration here, it just has to go up. But however, I think I did use a little bit of air drag. Air drag is basically you can specify some kind of number, and ooh, that's a big one. And what it does basically, it kind of like acts like a brake on the velocity. The bigger the number, the faster the particle would stop moving basically. So let's say if I have a 10 speed and I specify variable 8, ooh, that's a lot. So it would stop really quickly. But if I remove it, it's just gonna keep going on. So think about it as a kind of like a resistance or a brake on the particles speeding, I guess. This is not enough speed for me, so I think I just had a little bit of some speed, some air drag. Maybe actually it wasn't 1.5, it was maybe 7.5. So now I need to change also, it was on the surface. Now I need to change the texture. Here it's hearts, and hearts are also available in the default texture. So all I have to do is basically to move over here and make sure that I am exactly like that. So then, I think it's too many hearts. So here I can change how much I need hearts. So I think it wasn't 20, but it was like around 40 or 30. There is also this field which I didn't cover yet. It's maximum allowed, for example, particles. So I could change the rate to 40, but this number allows you to kind of like say, hey, like I see you, for example, 80. I would say maximum 80, and I also gonna change the max H to 3. This way, it's gonna spawn some particles, and until you can see here the particle amount, until particles are not gonna spawn, it's not gonna spawn anymore. So this maximum value says like, hey, I see you spawned 80 particles. It would be a shame if it's gonna waste the CPU. So let me just not gonna let you spawn more. So yeah, this way you can kind of like reduce the amount of particles if there is too much. It's not shared among all particle effects, just for the certain emitter. So I think for me it was 20 is fine, maybe 30. And beside that, I also need to do the scaling. Scaling is also done with a curve. So it's like H scale size, so hard size. And it's the same thing with as I shown before with the previous particle effect, but as you can see, it's like goes up and down. This is just allows the way I did it is basically I took Scatmuron and I spawned a lot of different kind of ups and down, kind of like this, and then I used H size in the appearance and I multiplied by this number. And because it lives for too long, it's slower. As you can see, due to the way it works, it uses the variable at the age of the particle lifetime. So the longer the particle lives, the slower it's gonna be the animation. So if it's 1, it's gonna be very fast. But if it's slow, I mean if it lives for a long time, the animation is gonna be very slow. So I think 1.5 is looks good. And what I also want to add is a little bit of randomization to the particles size. So I don't want it to be just always 0.1. Let's make it a little bit more. For example, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say like, hey, let's make that by default. So let's say that this is the range I want. So let's say this is 0 scale and this is 0.2. And I'm gonna say, no, 1.5. I want, no, it was, sorry, 0.5. It's like how big it is in terms of blocks, I think. So I say, hey, let's make it so that every heart could be between 0.5, 0.5 and 0.15. So I need basically to make so that the scale, oh whoa, the scale would be between these two numbers. So it would be between 0.5 and 0.15. 0.5, 0.05 and 0.15. So how this can be done? You can use, for example, variable particle random, let's say 2, and you multiply it by 0.5. But then if I copy both of them, some of them are gonna be too small. I don't want them to be too small, so if I specify it this way, my particles are gonna be only between 0.1 and 0 and literally 0. So I need to move a little of this extent. So all I have to do is to add here 0.05. And that way I get a range between... Did I mess up? No, I just copied to the wrong one. And this way I have a little bit of like it's not always close to 0, it's close to this one or close to, or in basically in between these two numbers. So I used base number 0.05 and then the random amount between 0 and 0.1, and this way I achieve this range between 0.15 and 0.05. This is the scale of every heart can be. And finally, you might seem that it's the same thing, but no, there is a little couple of cool things over here. First of all, the you see like the hearts closer to me, they kind of like go differently, and they also have like different kind of speed, I guess. And the way it's achieved is within the motion. Basically what I do with acceleration, first we use the custom, we used random to kind of like affect the way the original direction changes, but with random -2 I think and 2, I can kind of like make it jitter along the x-axis and like go in different directions. So if I say 5, find 5, it can kind of like add a chaotic motion to it. And if I also add it to, let's say, I would basically cause here kind of like a, I guess like kind of like a crazy bee or something like that. So by adding a little bit of random here, I achieved more like chaos to the motion of this particle effect. And beside that, I also had here a little bit of like kind of like rotation. So rotation of the particle allows me kind of like change the rotation along the basically from the point of view I see. So if it's 90, it's gonna be 90 degrees. If it's 180, it's gonna be completely flipped. So 0. And here I can specify similar to the way dynamic. Here I can specify, for example, like speed like 90 and the heart starts to spinning. That's not the way I achieved in that particular effect. What I did, I used, I'm gonna explain it later once I'm gonna show actual demonstration of the function, how it works. But at the moment I'm just gonna show, I used particle, no, it's not quite, it's variable, particle, let's say 3 and 360, and I also think multiplied here by 45, and this way it kind of like makes it go this way, kind of like. Maybe it's not fast enough, so 720. Kind of like, I think maybe it was more. So it's gonna go so kind of like, I'm not sure, maybe I used the wrong numbers. Nah, it's not the same formula. Let me see how I actually did it here. So it was hearts and rotation. Let's see how it actually. So it was 720 and 180. So as you see, now it kind of like goes. It kind of like, not just kind of like dances a little bit. So I rename it to example 2. And if I download it and insert into particles and spawn it here, example 2, we don't get a particle. And I'm not sure whether I made it on purpose or by mistake, but this is a good time to show why this happens. So whenever we use curves, or I think there's also another part, you Bedrock Edition supports a way to shorten the variables for age and lifetime. But unfortunately with Blockbuster it doesn't work. I'm not sure whether Cryphy will add this. I asked him, but whether if he's not gonna add, then it's moment variable particle. You just change v to variable and you can download the particle again and replace it, and it works. If I remember correctly, it also had local position and rotation, but I can specify it over here. This way I can now attach this particle. Oh wait, that's fine. It's example 2. So I toggle these, I remove it here. I'm gonna add the particle effect as a on a head, for example. Example 2. And now Steve is madly in love. Oh boy, wrong button. So yeah, this is the hard particle effect. Any questions? Man's mad. No, not actually. Congratulations. Yes. I wonder. I've seen there's a lot of people interested in the community updates. They're like 30 people. I wonder, is that also what's true with other classes, that was more interested. There was like less people actually coming in. I mean, I really appreciate you guys here. So it would be more very weird if it was just me and maybe just magic. Most people wait for the water. Ah, that's fair. This is speak now. Make him. He's eating bread. Snowstorm your stream has frozen, by the way. It's not frozen. I paused the particle effect. Yeah. So yeah, what in that case, I guess I can keep going on, right? If you wanna. I'm just gonna see if people type. Man, I really didn't expect it's. I have four more particle effects, and I love this. Has been an hour 30. Yes, I don't know whether you guys gonna stick so long. But in anyways, I'm gonna finish it so I would have it for the VOD. And I'm gonna edit out any silent stuff. In any case, then I'm gonna keep on going. So, so the next thing is on the agenda for me is to. I thought I need to go soon, but you're doing good. Thank you. I'm trying stuff and you've done. Hey, nice. In any case, I'm gonna keep going. So the next thing I want to show is basically effects related to circles, spirals, and basically arcs. So let me try again with the new effect. Yay, circles. Yeah, circles are great. So again, I'm gonna reset the to my default kind of like preferable I guess thing, the template. So point, and now we have just a particle. How to put the texture size to 0 again. In appearance you have, oh yeah, in appearance you have size, and this controls the size of the part of individual particles over here. All right, so now I have a new blank particle effect which uses the default texture. So for circles you have to use I mean, okay, I'm gonna also set up the default scaling. So what I do is basically I name, for example, particle size, p size. I name both variable, and I multiply in appearance by like desired biggest size I want. Multiplying is done with asterisk. It's not visible here, but they trust me, they are moving. Once so the way circles and spirals and basically arcs done is through parametric motion mode. Parametric motion mode allows you to use fully the utilize fully math expressions to make different kind of motions. In Tornado, it's gonna be a really complex. I mean, not complex, like a multi-layer math expression. But basically, if I want a circle, I have to kind of like it goes kind of like this, right? And there are two useful functions that allows you to do a circle. These are cosine and sine. In geometry classes, they are usually called in America, and but in to apply them, it's really easy. You just have cosine, which is basically you just put in the angle and you get the x coordinate on a circle, and then you take sine and you get the y coordinate on the circle. So this is how the graph of both functions looks like. This little dude is called theta, and it's usually in math represents an angle. And as you can see, the angle here, oh no, the angle here is moving around. So when it's 90, it becomes here. When it's 180, it's here because 0 is here. So it's moving around. So let's apply that to the particle effect. So math.cos. Okay, now I need an angle. I can use particles age, so for how long have it lived, as the angle. And now, oh, it doesn't move. I wonder why. So the problem is, it's not even a problem, it's like just math cosine and sine, they need an angle. And since our particle effect only lives for 1 second, it doesn't go anywhere. So what has to be done is multiplied by 360, for example. And now particle effect goes around. Due to the way Snowstorm works, it's not really visible how in the parametric motion mode it looks like. But if I go, for example, I'm gonna call it example 3, and I'm gonna export it to Blockbuster. Here, particles, example 3, and then replace it with example 3. You can see the particle effect going on the x-axis, like whoa, whoa, like this, goes up, left and right. So what I have to do now to actually achieve the full circle is to copy the same formula and change cosine to sine, and we get a circle. So if I download and I replace and I update, we get a circle. It's going so fast. So if I change, for example, how long it lives, for example, to 2, now I need also probably whoa, oh no, oh no. Okay, never mind, I accidentally. So make sure yes, very first. So due to the way, also by the way, if you change these numbers, sometimes you can get very cool effects. It's kind of like, you can like 3 or 4, like 90. And you can get very interesting effects if you just like experiment with numbers sometimes. Yeah. You can get lots of different kind of loops. And so I changed the maximum lifetime, so it's now lives for 2 seconds, and I changed basically the frequency to 180. So that means that for 2 seconds, so if at the most it becomes 360, so it makes a full circle through entire of its lifetime. So now it goes slowly and becomes a circle. Cool stuff. But that's the circle. Now let's do it a spiral. So spiral is basically just a circle whose radius is incrementally increased as the time goes on. For example, if you multiply the number outside, you make the radius bigger. But if you multiply to a smaller number, it becomes smaller, obviously. But if you multiply the radius by variable particle age, you achieve a spiral. So basically multiplying the circle, and as the particle goes, it leaves, it becomes a spiral. So if I replace again, in Minecraft, it becomes a spiral. Cool stuff. Hey, hi, Viiceroy. I've shown earlier your particles. And with this spiral, I can then later show how one of your particle effects actually work. So this brings me to a really cool effect. So with spiral, you can make it even more interesting if you animate the parametric, for example, the age. So now it becomes like 3D spiral. Kind of like, I don't know what it's kind of like cool shape. Sadly, it doesn't exactly animate here in the Blockbench very well, so I have to move it to Minecraft to test. So it makes this cool shape. So beside having this shape, I also want to show a pretty cool way. So with the circle, you can make it's hard to explain. So basically, I want show another cool effect is if you have, hello, I can't believe I'm late. I felt it. Hey, no worries. There is gonna be VOD. I think a lot of people are gonna watch the VOD anyway. So with what's it called? So what I was going to show is that if I have more particles, for example, 200, I can make a helix by, for example, if it's gonna be 0, and here is gonna be 0, it's gonna be just go up. But if I'll have a range in between negative and positive, so let's say the radius is gonna be, oh boy, it's hard to explain. Okay. Ooh, man is cooking, yes, exactly. Uh, Let me just try to see how it, no, wait, no. Variable random 2, um, times 0.5, okay, let me just check whether it works, because I remember that's a really cool effect. Maybe it's just not visible in here. Now, yeah, I think that's something messed up. Because no, I had it working actually earlier, but I replaced it with the trail particle effect. No more trail, I guess. Man, maybe it was math scene variable particle age times 720. Whoa. And I got them multiplied by 0.2. Now it becomes more and more peculiar. But I was trying to achieve a helix. I don't even know what it is. Man, looks so crazy. I know, right? Dude, I was trying to explain how. I don't know what you're gonna even use it for. You can probably use this kind of particle effect for some kind of like, yeah, I like it too. You can use it for example, if you have a sword and you can have like this cursed, uh, cursed magic to it around the blade. That could work, I guess. Man, wouldn't it test you? Yes. Okay. Um, Let me try to remember how did I achieve exactly. So this is another one. Man. So yeah, if you mess around, I mean, you find out beside that, but it's also, yeah. So my goal was to make so kind of like this staircase, so it wouldn't be just like flat. Um, so I think it was like this, maybe 0.8 plus variable particle random. Maybe that was the problem. Whoa. Okay, hold on, I think I'm cooking. So yeah, this becomes kind of like this circle stair. But so the way it works is basically we had a spiral that would go just along here's radius, right? Whoa, I messed up. Okay, let me just Okay, again, one more time. So we had, okay, one more time. I'll get it. Okay, just pretend we had a circle. If we look from the top, it's still a circle. But if I have a varied radius, I can make it a kind of like this staircase looking shape. Okay, so I think this was the same way. I managed to, let's say, 0.2 minus. Okay, I think I got it. And here, and that's how you make a helix. So basically, it's the same thing, but instead of it being on the outside, it actually kind of like becomes a stair thing kind of inside of itself and becomes a helix. Let's see how it looks like in the game. So basically sometimes you just have to mess around with it. So this is a helix here that looks like, thank you. And now, so all you need to know is that, oh, I messed up again. So all you need to know about cosine and sine is that you can plug in the age of the particle, and in cosine you get the x coordinate to make a circle, and to get the y coordinate you need the sine. And the funny thing is about sine and cosine is that they're basically the same shape. And if you take and to x you add pi over 2, you get this. It's the same thing. Literally. It's just 90 degrees shift. So you can get a sine with cosine plus, I guess if I go back and I remove this and I add here, and I subtract, I get back the sine. So basically they have a relationship between each other. Sine and cosine are used with triangles, originally with right triangles, but we don't need to know that because all we need to know is that if I use cosine with some variable that goes on and on, it becomes a circle only the x coordinate. But if I also use the sine, it becomes full circle when I plug in on the x and the z axis. You can, if you want, you can also make it a circle in on the vertical axis. That works too. Or even, for example, you can use the x on the axis and basically taking the vertical part of the circle and plotting it on the z-axis and using the y-axis as vertical axis. Okay, basically just sine and cosine are used to draw circles. And this GIF basically shows how whenever you give the angle, one returns the x coordinate, the other one is y coordinate. It's all in the document. I'll link again it in the chat, and in the description of the VOD it should be somewhere on the top. There's also the particles. I also upload the particles. So yeah, I think we're going for a 3-hour video. Let's go. I don't know what people are gonna watch, but I hope I can make chapters so people wouldn't have to avoid chapters. In anyways, oh no, anyways. So this is a helix, which is kind of a actually spirally circle. And what I wanted to show, basically, for the final kind of like conclusion of this thing, is that in Viceroy's video, there was this effect. Where is this one? Basically, If I can assume, is that it's actually a spiral, which is basically first it starts from one radius and it goes around and around, and maybe let's see how much time it is. So wait, so I see it goes from the radius. I assume it's a one block radius circle, and as it goes, so let's see, this is 17 again, 16 seconds. So it's about, it lives for 4 seconds. So let's see, I think the way it works is I'm gonna remove this and this. I don't need parametric, I can make it dynamic. I'm gonna make it a sphere. No, it was a sphere. I think it was a disk, maybe a little bit. Then the offset is animated with the emitter age. I need to change the emitter from expression to looping. So, for example, it was 4 seconds for now. And I use sine and emitter age. And wait, here goes cosine. Now we have a circle. And then as time goes on, it goes outside. Spin, yes, it spins. And I think maybe even cooler if it does have some like speed. Whoa, that is too much speed. Maybe when inwards is gonna be pretty cool. So I know outwards looks cool. Outwards 0.5. And then what we do is multiply. So it's the same principle with the spiral, but we don't just multiply by variable emitter age. So it seems very similar to how it was in the video here by Viiceroy. So like this. But our problem is that it's inside of the thing. So all I need to do is basically go out here +1, and it's gonna start at the 1 block radius is gonna be like just spin around. I think I might also want to reduce the range a bit here. Not range, but the radius of the disk. And it was, from what I've seen, it was also using this this particle with probably yellowish, and the shaders that was used. But I'll use probably white because it's gonna be more easily visible. And finally, I think it was local rotation position. Let's see. Local position rotation, and probably it was only applied emitter looping once for 4 seconds. And let's see. I think this is it. I could be wrong. Let's see. So I need to go back. Master models, particles. Probably should have saved all of these examples, but oh well. No, not the helix. No. So that sucks. Yeah, I should have probably. Okay, so, and finally, oh, think you can use body parts. Example 3. You can spawn, you can duplicate a couple of. So let's see, I think it's maybe. So it was just a good example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, damn. So 360 divided by 5, 72. So I copy it again, times 2, again, times 3. Is that times 3? Nah. Okay, no, that's correct. And times, and plus another times 2. And now, yeah, this is 2. Whoa, that's pretty cool. It's 2, it's a different, that's not how it looks like, but I think the problem is that it's too dense. Because of the, either because it's pretty cool, yeah, it's really good. Yes, imitation is the best form of flattery. I think if I multiply here by 2, it maybe look better. Damn. That could be used for some kind of like anime type of like impact thing. I messed up, but it looks cool. So basically, that's how I guess in math. Add some ground break plus smoke. Yes, plus plus shaders plus ratio plus L. Anyways, let me see how different I want. I think maybe the problem is that it's maybe the way scale works. I don't know. So we kind of replicated and got also a cool result, but not the same result. If I also make another particle effect with the circle inside, it would be almost the same. Plus ratio plus all, yes. Okay, now, um, now let's do Fireflies. I mean, wait, before we go, any questions? Judging by the silence, I guess, and no one typing, I would assume. Okay, major step. Never mind. Okay. Then we can keep going on, unless answer my own question. Damn, I love when that happens. Wrong one. Now we have Fireflies. I like more 15,000. Like as you can see, these are small guys, they're particle effects, but they also glow in the dark and you can kind of like follow them around. Hello, little guy. So the way I achieve this is I have a texture. So let's start again with the trail. So again, no, size. Variable. I should probably just make this template, but nah. Variable size. Hello. I guess maybe variable particle age lifetime. I guess maybe I'm gonna just add size. Because sometimes I think that in the Snowstorm there's like problems with. Maybe I'm just messed up something. Where is the particles? Oh, that's where they are. They're dead. Here they are. No, it's not because 2s. It's because I removed the variables, but I forgot to specify the max age. too much. All right, so also with the these are useful if you want to specify some variables so that you wouldn't have to go around and change variables. But so for example, I could change like variable life equal like 1, and I use variable life. They have to be called variables, and I put it here, and then this way I can go and change 0.5 for example, and it would actually change throughout the entire what's called particle effect. So if I want 5, it's gonna be 5. But I personally don't really like this because I have to like I mean, I guess I'm not using that much, so but usually you can just place these values here and it's gonna be cool. So the fireflies. First, I gotta import the particle. So here I have from my particles firefly. And first you need to change here the size. You can see the size over here of the texture, but it doesn't automatically changes here. And you gotta change the UV start and end. So 0 and 0, and then it's gonna become these firefly guys. It's actually 10 by 10, and I need to change the color. I didn't talk about this toggle. What it does is basically when it's enabled, you can see that they are glowing in the dark. If I turn shaders, I don't have shaders here, it's without optifying. But if you turn on shaders, it's gonna glow in the dark and they're gonna have like a bloom effect. But if I, for example, disable this effect, environmental lighting for fireflies in color lighting, and enable it, they're gonna be the same color as the me and all of the blocks whenever there is no torch. We place torch, they start glowing up. So basically the application of the particle of lightning. So it's disabled here, and it's also this should be disabled here. And then the motion, the emitter I have to, I think it was disk, and the radius was 10. So these fireflies would spawn like that. Motion. So I don't need air drag, and I think all of them went upward. But I gotta change the acceleration. So let's see. It's almost done basically. Just a big disk, which has these guys. I think in my particle here it's 5, and what I've done is basically I created lots of points here to make so that that's a lot of these guys. Maybe 20 at most. There's no need to be so many of them, and they fly upward too fast in my opinion. So for the way they move, they kind of like move in also different directions. The way this is achieved is through the same as I shown earlier, through adding some random. So I made it 5 and 5, and now they're too fast to my like. Oh my god, they just go as there is no random. Maybe 2 and 2 is gonna be more than enough. But yeah, I like how they just like randomly, and for maybe that's what it was. The speed was 0, but so I can just change it outwards. But the smaller number, the one that's supposed to go negative, it was smaller than the one that I want. So I want them to go a bit up, but not too much. So maybe like this. And finally, I also had I think I also had a little bit of a rotation. So variable, I can use the same ternary operator for, let's see, particle age, particle random. If it's less than 0.5, it's going to be negative 45. And otherwise it's going to be 45. So they kind of like, actually maybe I was wrong. So maybe I can add a little bit of tilt. These guys. So now they fly away. Too much probably. And finally, let's see, what else did I miss? Oh, they have flapping wings. What I've done with the flapping wings is basically there is, besides static, there is also animated mode, which allows you to animate without using math. So it has multiple cute, yes, indeed, thank you. So there is multiple options here, but at the moment I have to, the way it works is basically you specify by how much it steps, you specify how many frames, frame per second, no. How many frames there are. I have only 2, so the way it works, so for example, the texture itself is 20 by 10, so I have only 2 frames, so I have to go like so, 1, 2, and they have to cycle between. So if I go and change, for example, the FPS to 40, hello, why animation? Okay, step is supposed to be correct. Oh, loop, there we go. Okay, now this is fastically. So instead of 40 FPS, I think it's gonna be 10, and this way they flap their wings. So the way with loops, it allows you to kind of make them so that they would their wings, so the frames go up, left and right, left and right, left and right, repeat this way. So this way I have like this little, now I can export, wait, let's see. I think one more thing is that I could add the cut more room. There, kid. Thank you. So yeah, all of these particle effects would be available for the node if you want to use it. Like you can without any crediting, it's just part of the class. Because in any case, you can like replicate it and stuff. So let me see if I didn't forget anything. So they spawn, they fly around, there's a little bit of chaos. They are light up because there is no light environment lighting. They go. Yeah, I think that's it. So now we can just call it whatever we want. Meter example 4. Okay, and now I can move it to Blockbuster mode. What is that? I didn't disable it. Yes, Steve is in love with all of these cute what's called Firefly. And to reiterate the same mistake, you have to specify the texture. So I already have my texture in particles, so but you can take and move it yourself, your own particle. Here I have Firefly, so here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take the example 4, open it, pick texture, b.a, particles, Firefly, and now the texture is fixed. They're now at the bottom. I don't need them, so probably it's a good idea to move them a little bit up. And now There are a ton of fireflies, more than a. Hey, look! I did something Mojang couldn't do. Just kidding. It's not the same thing. It's much more complicated for Mojang to implement, but my point still stands. It's a roast. No, just kidding. But yeah, probably it's also a good idea to reduce the amount of the spawn rate. I still wish we had Firefly. I think it's just boils down to the performance. Like the way, like you have to spawn fireflies in bog specifically, or like a swamp. You have to, like, maybe they did a test and there will be a wood. Yes. I'm recording right now and I don't know, but let me see if I still have the space. I do have the space, and we got 2 hours recorded, and it only took 1 GB. Let's go. Also, probably I don't know whether I should cut out the questions because there's no on the screen discard. So I'm very much appreciated. Pretty sure that oh, I pressed something and changed the render distance, which I don't need. All right. So this is. Can you use curve or something else to delay motion? Like they're chilling for a few seconds. Ooh, that's a good question. I think you can do that. Okay, that's a good question, and I'm gonna actually demonstrate how you would do it. You create another curve, and let's say I'm gonna call it chilling. In my opinion, the way I could do it is basically I create here curve like this. I take and copy this, so I would replace the shorthand that doesn't work in Blockbuster mode. It was also I need to change the rate to 10, to maybe 8. No, not 8. And now, what I gotta do, all I do is I take this variable and in the motion, I multiply it by chilling. This way, they first, probably also here. Then as time goes on, probably I should add here a couple of. And yeah, so far they chill. That's actually a good release suggestion. Thank you. So now they first start here, and then once time goes on, they first chill, and then they go and roam around. Let's see how it looks like actually in the game. That was a cool suggestion. Thank you, Viceroy. Where is the okay? Ah, yes. Texture. I'm gonna just change it here because I know all you have to do is to b.a particles 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 it was firefly png. Ah, yes. This is so funny. So yes, chilling and then going roaming around, chilling and roaming around. Yeah, very cool. So this demonstrates the curves, the way random can be utilized again for this kind of like chaotic behavior. Then also we use the curve to delay this chaotic behavior, like the moving around and stuff. Let's see. I also showed you like the way to use animated. It's called also flip book. The way you just probably I should also make an example with another particle. For example, let's say okay. Before I basically showed a little bit how to use this, and it's disk. I think that's it. Anyways, let's. Yeah, any questions? Yeah, I see no typing, so I would assume there are no questions. So let's go further. So before I do the next one, I want to show quickly more about the animated mode. So let's try with a new one. So another reset of the trail. Oh, I know. I'll change again. Speedrun. Texture white. 0.1 times variable size. I do size. Size. Motion. No motion. No acceleration. No airdrag. And limiter is point. And we are done with the particle effect. Okay, with the template. So the animated mode. So there are a lot of examples where in the default particle atlas where you have some kind of these part like animated stuff. So as you can see, it goes like this. Let's see, it's actually not, is it 8? Okay, like this. So let's start at 0, and to demonstrate how this works, so let's say we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Wait, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So there are 8 frames. Max frames is 8, so I counted here 8. So all of them are placed horizontally, so I can just tell that I need 8 steps. So there are 8 pixels to step. So let's say if I move 8, it's gonna be the next one. Okay, UV size is 8, it's fine. And now I'm gonna stretch it to lifetime, and this way I don't need to specify the amount of FPS. I don't need to loop it. I just want the particle effect so that throughout its lifetime it would go from this frame to this frame. And so emitter, I'm gonna just make it a little sphere so that it will be visible that these actually animate, and they do. I think with curve I could use a little bit of Catmull. Yeah. So yeah, this is how the animated works. So you just basically specify where originally you have the first frame of the animation. It's the same texture still. It just picks a different portion of the texture. And so with the EV size, you specify how much of the basically area you want to pick in the texture. Then you specify how many frames you have. And then you specify how, with every advancement of the frame, what direction it goes. You can't really specify, let's say, that it goes like this, like first like that and then like this. No, it's suddenly impossible. You have to, it has to be the like diagonally and or vertically or horizontally, but no in any crazy path. So if we move the original, we can change it to another particle. For example, come on, let's see here. Now it has 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. That's how it animates. So yeah, for the purposes of it would like looking at much more clearer, I'm gonna show the expression color mode. Static, you just pick the color, but expression allows you to input mathematical expression that allows you to change the way the color works. Like let's say you have like some variable, for example, in the same variable curves, and you can plug it in. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna add a little bit so there will be variety to the gray. So variable particle random, because I used basically because I used random and it's only on the red channel, it basically changes to cyan because a little bit, because if you look at the static, this is not a good example. Let me show if I can see here a good example. So here white, so it becomes cyan because this red changes, and because of that this stays the same and they become exactly. So if I change here the random to, it would be cyan. Oh, that's why. Is that why you're cyan? Oh, I didn't realize that. It's also cool that the roll is also cyan. Cool. But yes, because I changed it to blue, I mean the green. This is basically this affects how much red there is. This affects how much green there is, and this affects how much blue there is. So this way I can control from white to red. But my initial thing, what I want to do is to make it so that it will be a little bit variation of the gray. So what I gotta do is I multiply by 0.2 plus 0.8, and this way I could have some slight variation of gray. I could change probably to 0.6 and 0.4, and then there will be more gray variation. The way it works, this number is always between 0 and 1. So if I remove the multiplication by 4, so let me just show it here. So let's say this is, wow, this is too fake. No. So random. So every variable, every particle has 3 absolutely random numbers that don't change throughout the existence of the so let's say they have variable random 1, let's say r1, r2, r3, 3, and r4. All right, so you can pick any of these numbers and use it to something more meaningful. In this case, I use to change the gray, to make them tinted of different shades of gray. Damn. Okay. What I was going to say is that all of these numbers are between 0 through 1. So it looks, if I remove, no, that's too much, I need more back. So it becomes from 0, all of them are 0 to 1. So this way you can kind of like do a little bit of math in order to add some variability to your stuff. I want the gray to go from, let's say, to vary between these numbers. So probably green. Come on, green. Come on, green, what's the problem? So I want, so the grays would be only, the value for grays be only in this range. I don't want it to go from complete black to white. I need only this. So what I can do, I can squish this range by 0.4. So this becomes, I multiply by 0.4 and it becomes this. But this is gonna give me only if I remove all of this 0.6, it would give me only from black to dark gray, which I don't want. So in order to achieve my desired result, I have to offset the limited range. So I have to push these numbers, because it's between 0 and 0.4, to the right with by adding 0.6. This by adding 0.6. So I added 0.6 here. And this makes the range in this number value. I don't know if that makes sense, but let me try to use a Mulane grapher to demonstrate this point. So query anim time is basically x. Let's pretend we have this portion as the variable random, the one that goes from 0 till 1. And so if I multiply by 0.4, it now goes from 0 to 0.4, as you can see, right? That's not what I need. I need it so it would start at 0.6 and end here. So I add plus 0.6. This way, I always get as minimum as 0.6 and as maximum as 1. Therefore, I get these shades of gray. Any questions? I would assume that since there is silence, I can go on. But yes, so with the expression of the color, you can, and the animation of the flip book, you can get this result. And let's see how it looks like in example 5. Right? Is that example 5? Yes. Since I didn't use any specific new texture, they. No, it's gonna consume my FPS. Okay. So now, example 5. And as you can see, it works the same way. So the texture is animating. There is a scaling of the size. And the shades of gray are visible. I think if you use particle, I think it's called no, it's not Android, it's explode. I think it should give the same amount. Okay, you see there's also this gray range that is between, I don't know, it's very similar to what, but the motion is different. It goes into random direction quickly, slows down, which I could probably, it's a good idea to kind of try to implement. I think the way it works is that you can specify a random number into all directions. Then, so basically it's gonna be random, then specify the speed and it goes into all random directions. Then the acceleration goes always up. I make it more faster so that I could compensate the fast, kind of like this emission with the fast launch so that I could fastly slow down the particles. And then I also, oh, that's too much. So now it kind of looks like the actual explode fire, not the fire effect, the particle effect. If I go here, well, if I add, I think if I add the scale randomization, which should be more bigger than 0.5. So let's say variable random 2, 3. It doesn't matter which one to use as long as it doesn't already used by another, or else it's gonna look very uniform, if you know what I mean. It's like it would look like a kind of like some kind of like a matrix glitch or something like that. In terms, it's too repetitive. And so this should be very similar to the explode effect that can be found in Minecraft. Just more dense. I think it's very close enough. So yeah, any questions? You see magic token. Not from me. Okay. I was assume then nope. All right. So far, how on a scale, surprisingly, on a scale from 0 to 10, how is comprehensive is the explanation and stuff? Like, is there anything that could be 10? Okay. Then no way. I wonder whether the comment section would disagree with you guys. All right, all right. Then it is then. In that case, moving on. My brain is small, so I don't have questions. It's becomes very okay. I can't read this. It's become very archaic. Yeah. Anyways, so now I want to show. It was confetti. This effect. So what's special about this one is specifically the Tintin aspect. It has a little bit of yeah, I don't know what this means either. I understand what it means, but it's just hard to read. In any case, so the way this particle effect works is that I have here a little atlas of multiple shapes, all of them in white. I gonna use the gradient we become capable. Yes. So basically I take these guys. It's 5 frames 10 by 10 pixels. So it's an atlas of 50 by 10. And I'm gonna use random elements of them for every particle. They're gonna fall down. They're gonna collide with the what's it called? They're gonna collide with the terrain, ground. Yes, I was looking for terrain word. They are different colors. There are 5 in total: red, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Wait, I did say purple twice. In any case, let's go. So for the whatever of time, I'm gonna start with trail. I think Yanis should add some kind of like default particle that isn't a new file because this one doesn't have a texture. Trail. I'm gonna reset it 0.1 times variable. Oh my god. Variable size. I remove these. 1 size. Then open 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so first things first is to include the confetti texture. This you have to readjust back the size. So this one is 50 by 10. The UV starts at 0. Ooh, I added enter. And it's also 0. And the UV size is 10 by 10. I actually have a question. Don't have to answer or anything, but how would you about making an enchantment table effect? Okay, I'm gonna once I finish confetti, I'm gonna show. There's a texture in the default. Okay, it's I'm gonna show it basically. Okay, let's see. So the way it works is that I have in the emitter I change it to box. I think the box is 1 by 1. Let's see if that's how it is actually. So this is Steve. It's more than I think it's 2 by 2. They fall down, so they go as a custom and -1. And speed is 1, for example. I think it's 1. Maybe 0.5. No, too fast. 25. Then there is collision. You have to specify. So the collision way works, you just enable it, but there's also a couple of elements you have to specify. The radius is basically the size of the bounding box of every particle effect. 0, I think, doesn't it doesn't enable basically the collision, but I think 0.5 is good for this particle effect because it's the appearance is 0.5, so you need just half of it because it's radius and not diameter. The collision drag is basically once it hits the floor or like a terrain, it gonna apply it works as air drag. Then the bounciness affects like how, for example, if I have it at 2, oh, they don't reach it. 3. As you can see, they now collide with the floor, with the ground. Motion, collision, bounciness. So if I change the bounciness, it's gonna like go and fly like a bounce off the ground. But with Blockbuster mod, there's a problem where it's actually, for example, if I want to make so that they would bounce, it's not gonna work because I don't know. Basically, it's I think I didn't deploy it correctly. So I'm not gonna do any bounciness, so it's just gonna fall on the ground. And events don't work with Blockbuster mod. The condition thing doesn't work either. Expire and contact allows you to basically want they hit the floor, they don't. But that's not what I want. I want them just to stay. And I think I also had a little bit of math random acceleration. The same. Oh, that's the wrong one. It's here. So I want them to do that, but I don't want them to do it too much. So I might want to add a little bit of collision drag. The rotation, I think I remember I had here a random rotation. So what I'm gonna do is I use particle random, and I'm gonna subtract 45, and I'm gonna multiply it by 90. So the way it's gonna work, single particle, let's say like this one, okay? If we have like a particle, its rotation is gonna be between, so it's gonna be 90 degrees between negative 45. Ooh, what is that? 45. And the way it works is basically I multiply it by 90. So if I don't subtract 40, oh wait, how much? 45.
it's gonna be like this, 0 to 90. So then once I just like shift toward that like counterclockwise, I get negative 45 to 45. It's easy to show with the graphing calculator, I think. So x, so let's say x times 90, I think. X times 90. 90 times x. So if I kind of like scale it like this, so once it reaches 1, it would be at 90, right? But I need it so that at 0 it would be negative 45. So if I subtract 45, at 0, at 1 it becomes 45, and at 0 it's negative 45, and it's exactly 0.5 in the middle. It's 0. So this is how it works. So now, as you can see, like some of the particles are there have different rotation, and so I also can use add like some maybe speed, and it's rotates 45. It's okay. Now this is basic. The motion is done. Now the texturing. Texturing is basically we have 5 frames, and I need to pick one random one. So the way I can have it, I could either use the same z variable particle random times less than 5 be like 0, and otherwise it's gonna be 8. But this only works with 2 particles. Unfortunately, this is not gonna work this way here. So what I need to do is to use a different kind of function. So for this, it's very useful to use a rounding function. So we have to pick between I think something, because okay, it lags a little bit my PC, so let me turn off this. So I'll close a couple of windows that I need. Okay, so I have here 5 frames. The way it works, I need so that, let's say, some number I need to transform, so it would tell me the frame and then multiply it by how much, like, okay, so this one is 0, 0, this one is 1, this one is 2, this one is 3, this one is 4. So I need to generate somehow this number depending on the variable, so random, so say random 3. So how can it do this? Random 3 is just a number between 0 and 1. So what I can do is take and multiply it by 5. Then instead of 0 to 1, the range of the number would go from 0 to 5. This way, but it's not gonna be the same. For example, look, if I use variable particle random 2, for example, and I multiply it times 5, I also need to multiply it times 8. So this way, why 8? Because every step of the, wait, it's not 8, it's actually 10, my bad. So every step is 10 basically pixels. But it doesn't look the way it has to be, right? It kind of like, it looks broken, that's not how it's supposed to be. So what I need to, but what actually happens is instead of this particle effect being like at the exact 0, like what it has to be at the origin of every frame, what happens is that it randomly spawns on these somewhere here. So that's not what it has to be. So what I gotta do is around it, and now it becomes perfect. Maybe that's what it was. because they live too long. So now, every one of them is individual and they are correctly mapped. So what I did is basically I stretched the random from 0 to 1. So if I go here, I stretched it so it was originally a number that went from 0 to 1. I stretched it to 5. So at 1, it became here. And then I, what's called? I rounded it. So this way, every frame would be at exactly the same, like, so that I would get these steps and I would get exactly the frame. So first frame, if it's less than 0.2, it becomes 0. If it's less than 0.4, it becomes 1. Less than 0.6 becomes 2, and so on, and until it becomes fully at 5. Oh no, it becomes fully at 4. It's exactly how many frames I needed. So this way, and then I multiply this number, which is by default here. If it goes from 0 to 4, I multiply it by 10. It's how, like, the step of every, so every frame has 10 in them. So this goes, and it goes like this for every frame and becomes individual here. Now, the similar thing has to, wait, no. Now I need to color them. So coloring done is an appearance, and the way I did it is I used gradient. Gradient is basically a feature which allows you to put a lot of colors, multiple colors on the thing, on the scale, like this, and then I can use an interpolant, basically a math expression to hey, I want this color, or hey, I want this color, and it would like smoothly interpolate between colors to which one I want. So first thing, I don't need variable particle age. Here I need a random, and I need another random. So let's see, random for no, this one. So my particle effect had 4 colors: red, yellow, green, dark blue, and purple. So as you can see, because it's a random, it has like these weird colors. It's not exactly the same which ones I need. That's because they don't get exactly on these points. Instead, they go some like here randomly, here randomly, here randomly. You know, as you can see, it's like sometimes this, for example, was over here. So what I need to do, I need to do the similar thing with this. I basically can copy this expression. I take this expression and I multiply it, divide by 4. So why exactly by 4? Let's copy this expression to my line graph. No, particle. Just for demonstration. So the way it works. So I need here a number between 0 and 1. But they have to be specifically so it would match basically. If you look here, so it has to be either 0, 0.25, a quarter, a half, 3/4, or exactly fully 1. I cannot use a 5 by 5 or else it's gonna be on the wrong parts. You see, it's 0. So if I take this graph and this graph,
Where is those one? No, we didn't copy it. So I don't know how. Wait, I cannot probably use both. So this is gonna be green. This is correctly be here green, but this red, it's not gonna be on 25. It's not gonna be here. It's gonna be instead over here because it's gonna be 20% instead of 25. So this is why it doesn't fit exactly the same way on the scale, because there is actually not 5 points. Even though there is 5 points, there are actually 4 sections. Like 1 section, 2 section, 3 section, and 4 section. That's why it has to be 4, because there is no, even though there is 5 points, there are 4 sections. And the first point is on the, like, basically on its own section. I don't know how to explain. But yes, that's why it has to be 4. And so that's, these colors are now correct. And if I probably look, they also, it's about the same. It's very similar. Yeah, so this uses the gradient with the floor function and also uses the fully basically monochrome texture that is basically just you can use white and grays to have different colors, but it's not gonna be like perfectly colorized. For example, if you have multiple tints, for example, if you want to achieve multiple tints, like for example, like a tint hue shifting, it's not gonna work. It's just gonna be the same tint. So yeah, awesome. Thank you, Viceroy. Any questions? Yes. Nope. Yeah, I assume there is no question. No questions. So let's see. It's so satisfying. Thank you. These, so I'll just save just in case, even though it's not gonna be the same way as the previous one, it's gonna be 6, I think. Example 6. It goes particles, and if I gonna try it out, it didn't work because somewhere I forgot to replace v for variable. And again, replace that. That should be a good reminder to replace v for variable. It's also states in the document v shorthand. By default, Snowstorm occurs with interpolant v shorthand, like v particle age. Before uploading particle effect, replace v with variable dot. So make sure to do that. So back to, and let's see if also texture. Yes, live path. Thank you, Simon. Also, another reminder to what, example 6, to pick the texture. Oh yeah, I forgot to link it. So again, I go to BA particles, confetti, and I forgot to save it. Why are you bouncing? I don't think I allowed this particle effect to bounce. So on collision, okay, I don't know why. So yeah, now it's confetti. I think what's it called, Neum had a better looking and also aesthetic had better effect than that. But well, I tried And then it looks like it was a pink instead of purple, and there are more of them. Phew, no, that was the most complicated of them all. Apparently we didn't really need as much. If it works, yeah, exactly. This effect. Oh boy, it's gonna be hard to explain this one. Oop indeed. So interesting enough, actually, this tornado. Let me see what it was. Okay, let's do another trail example. Damn. Oh, size. Cut more room. Appearance. 5. Time 1. Motion 0. Okay, if it would require parametric. So, ooh. And the tint 0. Did I mess up? Max age is fine. Texture. Oh, there we go. That's what. No. Yes, I could use the default. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So how did I do the tornado first? I picked this particle. Then let's see. Then I used similar the gray thing. This time I can use instead of I could use gradient with 2 colors instead. Probably that was a better idea to do. So variable random 3, and the way it works is actually the tornado is first it's a circle, variable random, no, not random, particle age times I think 90. Damn. Okay, this is maybe it's so it does it twice, so 360, and I make it leave for 2 seconds. 360. So it's a circle, but the way it works is that it goes upward. Particle age. Oh, wrong place. And its what's called its radius increases as time goes on. So I multiply it also by particle age. So now it kind of a little bit starts looking like a what's called tornado, maybe 7, to make like less spread. I think it was also multiplied by 2. It's gonna be a big boy tornado, just like a I guess wind current or something like that. So now in order to make it more dense, I have to add a little bit of offset to the original, basically, so it wouldn't exactly go the same spirally way. I have to kind of like, so it would go like rotated a little bit here or like that. So what has to be done is basically I use another random particle number. I think maybe 2 isn't used. Particle random 2. And I also multiply by some big number from 360. This looks chaotic at the moment, but now it looks more like a cone. Before, so this starts looking similar, but it's not same yet. So in order to give it more of a, at the moment, it's just a cone. So in the screenshot, so it just looks like this. And Tornado doesn't look like this. It actually looks something like this. So woo, and then woo, something like that. So I could use probably tornado variable age to specify actually how it progresses as a tornado. So maybe like woo. So this is basically the way it kind of like gonna go, and yes, it's funny. The and I, instead of using, wait, you know what? I think I messed up. um, so I think it was supposed to be this one. I had to use the variable tornado instead of particle age. Hmm. Maybe I should look up how it actually done. Wait, no. You know what? Maybe I'm on the right track. Maybe I had to take this variable tornado and use exponential. Let's see if that works. Man, it worked. It's completely worked. I don't really want to look up the original one because it's complete mess. Just look at that. It's abomination of a particle. If I go and gonna show how actually the expression looks like, you guys are not gonna believe. One second. So view word wrap. That's how it actually looks like. Let's try to reconstruct it from here, okay? So I have this part. So I guess I'm gonna grab this part. Just for now, okay? uh, sorry, I have to cheat because otherwise it's not gonna look the same way. I'm sorry. And I cheated so badly. Multiply. Hmm, kinda. I think what's happened there is that I need to do more like crazy stuff with the sizes, and that's how it was. I think it was the size that was doing this the whole thing. No. Well, maybe I have to tweak around this guy. Hey, it looks like it's working. So in the motion, basically the point of this math.pow thing, it's a power, is to make it so that instead of going just instead of linearly expanding like this, it's supposed to go, like this. So, and if you look at the math file query anim time 5, it would look exactly the same way, I think. It's also this kind of shape. Ooh, like that. Let's see. Let's go back to the thing. And it does look here a bit similar, but something with the sizes that I'm not really happy with. That kind of looks actually pretty cool. Yeah, that's a new what's it called? That's a new tornado, okay, guys. um I think it's also probably gonna help a bit if the color here, the darker, is gonna be a bit more darker. And also the speed is gonna be like also rotating, so that like there is more motion to it. Aerodynamics in its own special way. Yes, basically. But I really don't like that there's holes in some places. Maybe. Hmm. I don't know whether it's a good idea just to maybe like up the rate. I don't think it's a good solution. It makes too many particles, which would be heavier. But the point is to demonstrate like um yeah, I think it kind of looks like tornado. What about increase the texture? Yes, but I already increased here with the there's still holes. Um, ooh, maybe make it smaller. No, I don't think it's okay. Wait. No, it looks doesn't look the same. I love it. You could load more original another time and compare it. Um, yeah, I guess let's get it. What are the particles? I guess. Uh, let's try that. Okay, 1 second. I don't know what I have in the history. So I don't want to. There shouldn't be anything inappropriate. Just some weird stuff like Chinese. In case, the motion and now let's just pretend it's good looking good. Okay. It's okay. It's its own thing, but so the way it works is that this expression provides basically the circle itself, and this expression provides the kind of like it's cool as it is, yes. And this expression part of it basically makes it so that it's kind of like a okay, let's just wait. There's too many variables to actually plug in the grapher. Phew. Let's just try. Let's see what it looks like. It looks like this. Man. So kind of like a tornado. Um, but yeah, okay. Again, if I break it down, if I remove both of these parts, it becomes a circle. If I add the multiplication by the power. Power is basically it's basically this oh, it's like 2 to the x. What it does is it's an exponential function. I messed up my the vertical axis. How do I fix it? Okay, I'll just restart it. I add 2 to the x power. It looks like this, so... And I can change the number here, the one that 2.5. So basically, the way it works, this is x, like here. It's basically multiplies itself as like a specific amount of times. And then, oh, that's a different one. And then the age provides the x, actually. No. Wait, is it? Yeah, I think it is. Dude, I forgot how it works. No, let's see the Malang sheet and see if it actually helps. So base, this is base if I remember from the school. So it's actually x to the 2.5. Oops, I confused it. So basically, it's just specifically just like a bigger parabola, like like this guy. So I could have, if you like rotate it around, it becomes this kind of like I don't know what's the name of the shape. It's kind of like becomes a, you know, like a in the water you have a whirl. No, it's not a cone. Cone is just, it's gonna be just straight. It's like, yeah, vortex. There we go. Thank you. It's a vortex. And if I don't change the y, it's actually pretty cool as well. So if I change in, because I increment the y as it goes, it becomes this as a tornado. Looks like a hurricane without an eye. Yeah, I guess. So let's try and see how it looks like in the game. Ooh. Particles. I hope I didn't mess up another time. Yeah, it looks like this. Probably a better, different texture would have helped. Let's see if I can change the texture to make it look better. Ooh, what do you think, guys, about this one? Well, so yeah, that's how you sometimes. What about this one? Ooh, what, ooh, no, that's what about this one? So yeah, sometimes you can just experiment. That ooh yes. What about the one on the top? Which one? This one or this one? Ooh, ooh. Okay, I think we have a winner here. I think this is the best I'm looking. Okay, let's see if it actually looks good. No, come on. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that looks good. Although at the bottom, I think at the bottom, I could fix it by... No, I can't really fix it. Okay, so this looks like a vortex, like a hurricane. Thanks to the different or the texture, it kind of looks like. And the final thing for the vortex that I used is that I had what's it called? It's called tornado leaves. So I have these like floating around leaves. It's just the same circle, but there is leaf textures. So let's try to add these leaves to the tornado. Okay. Yes, yeah, I saved it. So now I can go back to trail and then add size. Yeah, I need to wrap up because I already need to go to sleep. Okay. Variable size. This is 1 again. I think it should be 2. There's gonna be a different texture. It's just gonna be a leaf, which is 8 by 8 by 0 by 0. But I want to say that this is not a texture I made, it's a texture from Better Foliage. I just tinted it in another way. It's from Better Foliage originally. So 0.1 times variable, let me try size. Variable size time do this. That's too many. I think it was 7.6 and also I changed it the parametric, and I also make the same circle. So the math with cosine variable particle age times 360. Same with this is too fast. I think maybe I would change to 3 and 360 times 3. No, not 3. Whoa, I think this is too slow. Maybe not. Wait. And what I need to also do is a variable particle, and I need to offset every one of them with a little bit of randomness. So particle random 2, for example, and then 360. And I add to both of them. And now they're offset a little bit. And I also add a little bit of vertical, what's called vertical offset, variable age. No, I don't need this. It's particle random. I used 2. Yeah, that's basically the only one I used. 3, and I multiplied by 0.2, and I subtract 0.1, so that will be just a little bit offset. And I also remember that I added parametric rotation. Parametric rotation is basically you can specify a formula, and it would basically rotate the based on the formula, it would rotate the particles. So what I was doing is just they were just spinning, and this is achieved just by particle age and multiplying by 360. And the final thing that I need to do is to multiply it by variable by no. Okay, I'll start. First, I need to create a new variable I'll call it tornado radius, okay? This is gonna be by default point just 1. I'll explain in a second why it's needed, but I needed to multiply it by here in the x and z for parametric function stuff. Okay, now it works. I name it example 8, and I don't know this. Let's see, wait, variable, that's fine. All right, so this is seems to be okay. So now I'm gonna take the empty model and I'm gonna add all of these. So wait for a surprise, basically. So 7. Yes, the tornado is working. So what I want to add is to add a little bit, like 3 layers of leaves that would be circling around this tornado. So how this is done? This is done by adding these divs. Yes, the particle. Okay. So what I'm gonna do? So the first one goes around here. The second one around here. And the third one around over here. Maybe more. So as you can see, all of them, well, first I'm gonna fix the texture. Pick texture, go to BA, particles, and leave. Save. So all of them, maybe I should also, 1 second, probably gonna move the middle one a little bit up. And the first one also a little bit up. So what I'm gonna do with a Snowstorm form, you can actually change the value, so the variable. So instead now it's 0.5. This one, I would say 0.9. And the top one is gonna be, I think, maybe 2. So now, as you can see, 2 is probably not enough. Or maybe I should bring it a little down. So this way, I can I can change some variables within the what's called. I can change the variables that I set here for a specific morph. In this way, it works. Like you can set up different radiuses for these particles, and it just works basically. All right. I can probably substitute this morph with the morph here. And let's see. It just works basically. Yeah. So yeah, now it's actually like a hurricane. Okay, any questions? Not from many guys, but how many examples do you have? That was basically the last example, to be honest. So, if there are no questions, only asking because of my yes, I think so too. So if that's it, then I guess that's it. Let's see if I didn't forget anything like from the document. Again, I got so Khan Academy. That's a good one to provide. Variables. I'm gonna need okay. I'll write down post particles made during class. That'd be doc, yes. So, and I think I don't remember whether I went through, so with the variables, we used a lot of these during the stream, the class. And I didn't really explain, so basically variables are these just basically names that we can give numbers. Some of these, for example, like variable particle age, are provided by Snowstorm. This means like how much it lived. And this means how much it will live. So this way I can like manipulate with these numbers. For example, as a grapher, the particle age is just like a number that goes up and up and up and up and up, depending on how much it lived. So yes, variables are very powerful. You can, especially with the random, as I shown before, you can add a lot of variability to the, and variance, not variability, variance to the particles, like with the color, the movement, the offsets of the circle, and so forth. See, I showed functions like, I don't remember whether I showed how to get numbers on the graph, but essentially, let's say we have this graph, and it just returns itself. So you can treat it as like here as x. So if we have, for example, we look at the graph, we see, oh, I want to see at which, like what is the value at when x is 2. I look at the graph and I see, oh, it's over here. But at the same time, I can also take this number over here. Let's see, and screenshot like this. And take this number over here. Oh, look, I plug into the formula. The formula is literally, so x equals -2. So x is just -2. So I look on -2 over here, and this is the point. If I make it so many times, like if I do the same operation so many times, so let's say I remove this, it will be much more convenient. So x2, so y, so f of x equals x, so f of -2 equals -2, so it's over here, -2 on here and -2 over here, it's going to be here. If I do it for, let's say, -1, it's going to be -1 equals -1, it's going to be here. And if I saw, it's going to be just, if you plug in, get, and then you can just connect the dots and you get the same x. And if we have like a little bit more complicated function, x squared, just quickly gonna show this. You just basically take the formula and f of x equals x squared is actually x times x. So let's say we have here 0. 0 times 0 is gonna be 0. So let's say at 0.5, it's gonna be, I don't know how much it's gonna be, so I'm just gonna do the calculator. So 0.5 times 0.5 is gonna be 25. So, whoa. So f of 0.5 is gonna be 0.25. It's gonna be over here. And then this one is gonna be easy, so f of 1 is gonna be 1 times 1, or 1, is gonna be 1. So it's here. And then I can connect this line and I get the graph. So you basically just plug in for the x, the number on the horizontal, and you get the y, and then you just connect the points, and that's how it is. I think I explained it pretty well, and if there are any questions in the, I guess you can always ask in the VOD itself. Well, I guess in this video once it's posted. So yeah. I think that's it. Any questions? No, for me, don't. In that case, I would like to thank you for sticking so far into the what's it called? Yes, you're now liberated sign from all the math. Sorry for mental abusing all you. Just kidding. But yes, math is powerful and you can do a lot of stuff with particles. I'm not the best one. I know they're like, for example, Viiceroy is pretty good from the stuff I've seen. There was also a Chinese blockbuster using called Lightning. I think there are some examples I could probably find and link in the description. But yeah, dude, thank you so much, of course. thank you, Mr. Hooks. Of course. Thank you for sticking around. I hope the views on the video is gonna compensate for the lack of people in the class. I'm kidding. But yeah, hopefully it's gonna be very useful. And but I don't know. I hope at least in the comments I could clarify any things. So yeah, thank you for watching.